You're listening to the Ones Ready podcast, a team of Air Force Special Operators forged in combat with over 70 years of combined operational experience, as well as a decade of selection instructor experience. If you're tired of settling and you want to do something you truly believe in, you're in the right place. Now here's your host, former Prep Course Ops Superintendent and current Special Reconnaissance Training Guru, Trent Segmiller.
Based on the look on Aaron's face, that was a fantastic clap. The best clap that we've ever had on the Ones Ready podcast. Welcome back, everybody. You're with Aaron, Peaches, and Trent, and then the Dagger guys, Jordan and Lance. We'll get to them in a second. First of all, make sure you like, subscribe, leave comments. We've been getting a lot of good comments lately. Keep that train rolling. It's pretty awesome. Second, check out the people that help us out. We have Strike Force Energy, Cardomax, Eberly Stock. I don't know who we want to talk about this morning. Probably Alpha Brew Coffee because it's early out there on the West Coast. And I'm not saying Aaron looks like he's on the struggle bus, but he could probably use some brew right there with Peaches.
That's hurtful, but yeah, I mean, it's true. It's single source. It's never blended. It's never burned. It doesn't taste like bitter Starbucks coffee. It only takes a cup of coffee or two to get me through my day. Caffeine tolerance through the roof. So yeah, I could use some coffee, Trent, but also hurtful. So continue with your plug.
That's the end of my plug. Also go out there and check out onesready.com to get your merchandise and help support us directly. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I personally don't know that much about, if I'm honest. There are parts of the Air Force, everybody seems to think, you meet someone and they're like, hey, I know this guy in the Air Force. Do you know him? No, there are so many people that I don't know, and there are jobs that I don't know anything about. And one of those jobs is the Dagger program. I'm not sure if it's a program or really its own AFSC or career field, but we have Jordan and Lance here to talk me through it because I'm pretty ignorant. So Jordan and Lance, welcome to the Ones Ready podcast. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good as well. Thanks for having us on.
So I figure we'll just start out with y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves and kind of how you got to where you're at and what that means. We'll start with Jordan.
Yeah. So I'm Jordan. I'm originally from Illinois. I've been in for about 7 years. I've been here stationed at Cannon Air Force Base for 3 years. Been doing the Dagger thing for about 3 years. And it was a pretty cool opportunity how I got to do it, how they opened it up to the entire career field, applying through the assignment management system and getting picked up for it. And been a really exciting 3 years so far.
And I'm actually a reservist now. I did 9 years of active duty in the security forces. The last 4 of which I was with the Dagger unit at the 1st Security Forces Squadron at Herbert Field, and then transitioned over to being a reservist this year. And I'm just getting finished up with phase 3 of the pipeline for Combat Aviation Advisor, using the security forces and force protection as skills and assets that I've gained over the years to help support the CAA mission.
Nice. Okay, so can you just going right back to Trent's kind of initial question, like when we start talking about, and Jordan, I'll go to you on this one. When we start talking about AFSC or Air Force Specialty Code, actually a job versus Dagger. So is it obviously security forces and Dagger do 2 completely different things, but is it actually the same job? Like, can you go straight into Dagger, or do you have to go security forces first and then assess for Dagger?
Yeah, you definitely have to go security forces first. Dagger falls into the umbrella of security forces. It's not its own AFSC. It's a special experience identifier that you can get the opportunity to get the 099 SCI. So you definitely have to do your time in security forces first. It's not something that you can just hop straight out of tech school. So for people who want to go security forces on the basis of, I just want to be a Dagger, just understand that there will be some time put in before you can just go to Dagger.
And how, go for it. Sorry.
I was just going to say, no, that's all good. I think it'd be good maybe to kind of talk about what the Dagger program, kind of the origin of it is too, to kind of get a better idea of kind of where it sprouted from. The program started back in 2007, and for about a decade before that, Air Mobility Command and Air Force had developed the Phoenix Raven program, which was specifically for flyaway security for AMC, for our cargo birds that were flying with AMC. And around 2007, the AFSOC, headquarters basically said we'd like to have an asset to provide mobile security for our AFSOC birds. And so they basically took the Phoenix Raven program and did essentially use that and created a Dagre pipeline. Dagre standing for Deployed Aircraft Ground Response Element 2, by the way, it's an acronym. And so the real mission, the real point of the program was to basically, same thing as the Phoenix Raven program, to have a small contingent of security forces personnel to escort our planes as well as our aircrew members in these hostile and non-permissive environments. But they wanted to have a little bit more of a soft skill set. So it started with the Phoenix Raven program, and eventually the entire program moved to Herbert Field. But basically using a lot of those purple judo type things, security forces mindset as far as security assessments of airfields, being able to de-escalate things, be able to kind of have that close-in entry to the aircraft, and then take some of the soft skills and build upon that as far as personnel security, defensive driving and tactics, use of encrypted radios, things of that nature.
So you guys get a lot of that specialized training after you receive that that SEI and that assessment, right? Or after you get selected, rather.
The program's taken a little bit of changes, just like any pipeline. I mean, I know even you guys with the special warfare pipelines, there's been a lot of changes to it recently. But as of right now, the school is about 9 weeks. So you start with the AFSOC, which is the Air Force Command, it's Air Commando Field Skills, first down there at Herbert Field. And you're mixing with other AFSCs at that point that are within the AFSOC community. And then after that, you get another 4-ish weeks, 4 to 5 weeks of training, depending on how holidays line up and everything like that, to do your top-off skills that are specific to the Dagre skill set. And then it has a culmination FTX at the end of the 9 weeks.
Okay. So I feel like I'm hogging it just because I'm like Trent. I mean, obviously I'm tracking Daggers and I knew that the Phoenix Ravens had transitioned into Dagger, but like I didn't know the process. So as a security forces, and I know I said I'm worried that I'm hogging it. I'm just going to do it. So sorry. I'm on an education journey right now. So I'm a security forces person. First duty station. How long do I have to wait? And how do I go about applying to become a Dagger?
I'll let Jordan take that one because he entered the pipeline more recently and has been into it since they kind of changed it into an AMS assignment management system hire. So I'll let him take it.
Yeah, definitely. So there has been some changes. Now there's a rank requirement, ranking in and ranking out. So you have to be a senior airman minimum, and you rank out for your chance to get into the program at Master Sergeant. If you haven't already gained your SEI by Master Sergeant, you really don't have a whole lot of hopes of getting a billet for Dagger. So you do get into your first duty station. If you're lucky enough to say you got somewhere like Herbert Field or Cannon Air Force Base, you could do your time, hit that senior airman mark, and then you could apply and you have a pretty good chance of getting it. There are some possibilities there. For me personally, I had been a senior airman for a little while. I was at F.E. Warren Air Force Base. I believe I just got a line number for staff, and the opportunity for Dagger came up on AMS. So I applied and was fortunately enough was picked up for that. So to be honest, you're looking, say you come in as an A1C, a couple years probably realistically before you can put in for Dagger. Maybe give or take, maybe a little sooner. But it is a process. It's not something you can just jump straight into.
Okay. So how hard, like again, I'm hogging.
Nope, stop it. I'm going to ask it.
Okay.
What's that process look like? What do you need to be ready for? What's the training look like? Jeez, Jared.
I love the fact that Peaches is just like, I just don't understand these things. I just truly want to know. I'm just trying to ask. Like, it's coming from the most pure place too, which is the best part about it. He's just actually excited.
Yeah, it's again the whole reason why we exist.
So my experience, I mean, definitely with the Dagger pipeline, waking up at 5 every morning, you're going to go do PT, some type of selected PT program that Dagger is running. So being very physically capable, which is being in shape, you don't have to be an Olympic athlete. You just have to be physically healthy and in shape, be able to pass your PT test with above a 90, the 90 percentile, be able to ruck 6 miles, be used to carrying weight, about 35 pounds in your ruck plus wearing your vest, and being able to do 6 miles in under 90 minutes. So you will become very accustomed to running for distance and then definitely rucking while you're in the pipeline.
Well, and we get this question all the time, and it's not really from us about our pipelines. I'm sorry if I cut you off, Lance.
Good.
But like, we're going to get the questions as soon as we release this. They're going to be like, okay, well, but what does that mean? What are the numbers that I should be shooting for? Exactly how fast do I need to be able to run a mile and a half? Like when you talk about running distance, are we talking 7 miles or are we talking 26 miles? You know what I mean? Like, so like maybe talk about where you were or where you think the numbers are that would create a successful candidate. And then you're rucking and all that other kind of stuff. Because we're going to get the very specific questions and we're just going to refer them back to y'all.
Yeah, it's going to be the least efficient process. They're going to be like, well, how far should I run for how many? Also, can I ask you guys, do you guys think that 34 years old is too old to become a dagger? Because we get that question all the time and it makes me so upset. Has nothing to do with 34. Ryan. Yeah, they're just like, hey, have you ever seen, I'll ask you this question. Have you guys ever seen a blonde haired kid from Iowa that's 5'8" and 145 pounds? Has he ever made it to Dagger? Because that means the person asking the question, they can make it too.
I've seen said person. I don't know if it's specifically the one that you're referring to, but I've seen. And
it's not going to work. They want to know. They want to know specifically for them. They want to hear from you, Lance. Are they going to make it? And if they don't, it's your problem. So go ahead.
Well, yeah. What I will say is that I've helped instruct at the 371st schoolhouse. I've probably helped instruct 5 or 6 classes over the years I was active duty. And like I said, I've watched the pipeline take some changes. And one of those changes was changing a standard from it used to be 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, Air Force style sit-ups, and then the mile and a half run. The old standard was under 11:20, which is a completely achievable number. And even to bring up your question on age, sometimes if we have a tech sergeant coming through, that person might have 10, 12 years of experience on their shoulders in the Air Force compared to A1C or senior airman. So I would always tell anyone to shoot for what those standards were, right? And I'm sure you guys, having people ask questions about the special warfare pipelines, what number should I be shooting for? The bare minimum should be not even a thought in your mind, right? If you're concerned about hitting the bare minimums, then you're obviously not physically ready. So you should be completely crushing it. I'd say it's like your worst day. You've had low sleep. Your nutrition's kind of been crap. Maybe you're not feeling that 100%, and you can still pass it. Then you're probably somewhere on the right track. Would be my advice. As far as the distance, this comes up a lot with rucking because security forces as a career field, it's kind of a foreign environment for them. We're used to having load-bearing gear and a plate carrier and having carrier rifle and all that stuff. And that stuff typically, depending on what size plates and all that kind of stuff, is 25-ish pounds of gear. The rucks are not super heavy. I would tell anybody to basically shoot for anywhere from 35 to 45 pounds in their ruck and be able to do up to that 6 miles without an issue. And keeping it that kind of standard infantry pace of 15-minute mile. If you're lagging below that, then you gotta really figure out kind of what to do. And unfortunately, rucking, just like I'm sure all you guys all know, it's very dependent on kind of your biomechanics. If you're a short guy or gal, because this program is open to women as well. If you're a short guy or gal, you're gonna have to play the shuffle game where you double time in a little bit, you walk for a little bit, you double time for a little bit. And obviously doing something like that takes some time to build up to it. So I would tell anybody to look for a rucking program. There's free ones out there, as well as there's plenty that, operators out there that put out stuff to purchase, start building up for it. And then the counter piece of that is rucking is not the most important thing in the schoolhouse for Dagger. If you're like, I'm going to ruck 50 miles a week, well, you're probably at that point, you're probably going to be doing more harm than good. You got to be able to hit the standard, but you don't want to break your body down in the process. And I'll kind of let Jordan speak to maybe a little bit of the things that he found challenging in the course. But last thing I will say, and this has been a huge issue for the Dagger pipeline in years past, is the pipeline happens down here at Herbertville, Florida. And in the summer, it is hot. There was a period of time where we were not doing courses in the summer because come 6 a.m., you're in black flag conditions, and it wreaks havoc on the body. I'm a certified strength conditioning coach, and if you look at publications on what happens to your VO2 max in the human body when you go from 70% humidity to 100% humidity, it just completely pulls out all your cardiovascular ability. You sweat a lot more, lose a lot more salt, you're going to fatigue a lot earlier. So if anybody is looking to do the Dagger pipeline and you're coming from some place where it's a cool, crisp, temperate environment, start doing something to heat it up. Get in a sauna, go to hot yoga. Start doing something that's going to get your body acclimated to a hot environment, because the conditions down here during summer courses are brutal, and we have lost students in the past to heat casualty type conditions.
Yeah, we did a lot of studies into exactly like how that affects human performance, and because we're at San Antonio too for our pipeline, and I mean it was exhaustive, the research they did, and it was even harder for the instructors to completely ignore it and throw it away and keep the schoolhouse in San Antonio. So that was probably the hardest part for us, was knowing that information is out there and then not caring and not doing anything with our standards. That was a really tough part for us.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually the excuse that I have whenever I'm in the heat. Cardiovascular is gone.
Yeah, I said that joke deadpan enough that the joke didn't even register. So I'm hoping it's going to be a fun little grenade on the podcast. People can just be like, is Aaron serious? Did they really just ignore all that? No, we did the same thing. They're just like, yeah, listen, it's really going to affect your performance. I hope you guys figure this out. Anyway.
Yes, we just ignore everything you say.
Pretty much. Jordan, I did want to ask you kind of more on the pipeline sort of thing. So we've mentioned the pipeline a couple of times. So, let's say that you got a motivated senior airman, they get in, they get the training that they need to do, and they're ready to go, and they're ready to put their name in the hat. They're going to go to AMS, or they're going to talk to their careers advisor, and they're going to go and get their ANS slot. Like, do you guys call it assessment and selection? Is it an NDOT course? What do you call your initial look at those people?
No, so the initial look is just through AMS. Currently, active duty, unless it's done locally, we've done some vetting process for local hires. But me personally, my first, I guess you'd say, job interview part of the job itself was when I showed up to the 371st, and I was being looked at by the instructors. Even Lance, actually, he was one of my the guest instructors for my course. So that's when they first get real eyes on look at us. And then we start kind of that job interview or performance to see if we're right for this job.
Yeah. So two-part question there then. What is that like, showing up to your first station and just being like, okay, well, here we go. And then, what are some of the events that you can talk about? Like, is there a formalized, I know you guys have a formalized course that you go through, but are there any additional schools? Like, what is your pipeline? What does it consist of?
So you show up to Air Commando Field Skills course. Like Lance has said, multiple different AFSCs. You get everything from shooting to driving. It's a very fun course. I'd say a little more laid back. You do have a lot of different AFSCs. We were still doing morning rucks about 2 times a week with our Dagger cadre. They would come in the morning, and we would get up super early. We do our ruck. We get ready for class to go to ACFC. Now, come the Dagger course, your very first day is your PT test. Like Lance has said, we knew what the old standard was, and that's what we were shooting to meet. Or exceed. We didn't want to just barely pass. No one wanted to just barely pass their PT test. That wasn't a very good look. So everyone was shooting for as high as numbers as they could. Then from there, it was just preparing mentally for each event. I think there was definitely some people who were nervous. Plenty of us were nervous. We wanted to make sure we passed, because if you fail, there's no guarantee that you get to come back. So it could be an opportunity to miss. So a lot of us were just making sure that we were mentally prepared for those events. Our 6-mile ruck, our ruck run, and then we also had, in my class, was a 4-mile boots and uniform run. So just all things that we were preparing for. And even prior to, I was usually rucking about 4 miles once a week. Not trying to stress my body too much. Not to mention, at that time when I was in Wyoming, it was probably like 20 degrees with snow on the ground all the time. So rucking was definitely, had to be careful, not slipping on the ice or anything, but just making sure physically that I was ready to go, and practicing up on those skills that you would need. There's definitely shooting. Fortunately enough for my old unit, the unit I was at, we got to shoot quite a bit. So and it's something I'm passionate about, I really love. So putting in a lot of time there. Land navigation, comms, communications, again, making sure that we were spun up on the Harris 152s, that we could do that. Mission planning is another big portion of the course. They'll be asked of you whether you're a senior airman or you're that master sergeant coming in that got hired through AMS. Mission planning is definitely important. Being able to articulate to someone who might be, being able to get comfortable talking in front of a group of people or higher level individuals, that you need to instill confidence in them, that you know what you're doing and that you're going to execute your plan effectively. So being able to practice all those things, public speaking is definitely a big one. You wouldn't think so, but definitely being comfortable, especially if you're that senior airman coming in fresh.
Public speaking is huge. I don't think people gloss over that a lot. I mean, you don't have to be the most articulate, but you at least have to be comfortable enough to be able to stand in front of people and not just freeze. Like I said, you don't have to be Simon Sinek and you deliver a perfect speech, but you definitely got to be able to get up there and speak. I just want to clarify one thing. You guys threw out an acronym, and I know that people will ask it. AMS. It's, for those out there that don't know, it's Assignment Management System. It's one of the, and we have a couple different assignment management systems out there, but that is basically where it's a job listing for your career field, for your rank, and then it gives you a list of all of the positions and locations available, and then you can go on there and you can volunteer for them. So I just wanted to clear that out because I know that we'd get an AMS question. One thing that we kind of glossed over a little bit, and just because I know it's going to be asked, is there any swimming? Like, is there any kind of water work, whether it's drown proofing, or do you have to swim at least 200 meters or anything like that?
Are there any hoses involved? Listen, I know it seems weird, but they're going to ask, like, is there any chance that I could get completely soaked from head to, like, it's a weird question, and I know it's probably an AFSOC war thing, but they ask us all the time, so we wanted to ask you.
Aaron's on one today.
Did you ever take a drink of a water bottle? And because they're going to want to know how the play to avoid that is. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, I can tell you from my experience that I did get wet. I was a hire through before the assignment management system, and I was at the first field, and we did a 1-day assessment. I got on the beach. My uniform got soaking wet. I got some sand in some areas that I wish I didn't have sand.
That's how sand works. It's terrible.
Yeah. But in all honesty, like, if you expect to get through this course completely dry, that's not going to happen. But to answer your question specifically, there's no pool work involved. There's no swimming requirement. Florida is a wet environment. The land nav course and where the FTX takes place, has a lot of areas that are swamp-like. It rains in Florida unpredictably all the time. So you're going to get wet in the course, but you will not have to do any kind of swimming evaluation for the course. Now, that being said, there are opportunities to do some follow-on schools. Like, we send our guys to, I forgot what they've renamed it, but survival school, and our guys are eligible to go to water survival as well. So I would tell anybody it would behoove you to get comfortable at swimming, just as a sheer survival aspect. Our planes fly over water a lot, and although the Air Force has really good track record with our aircraft, bad stuff still happens. And if you don't know how to swim, you're more of a liability than an asset, in my opinion. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Man, that would suck to be flying over the Atlantic and you survive a plane crash or a helicopter crash and you die because you couldn't swim. Just you die because you couldn't tread water or swim. That would be terrible.
We've been on duck butts before. So for those that don't know, a duck butt is when a single engine plane goes and they cross the Atlantic, right? There's always a plane that follows those other planes, right? Just in case something does happen, because bad things do happen. We would talk, and typically they're really long flights, man. Flying on a C-130 with, 6 of your closest friends packed with all the gear that you would need to pick that other plane up. We have laughed like idiots. Just that exact same thing as we're sitting there. And, I've flown with Dagre that was doing that before. And I just looked at her like, hey, you ready to go down in the North Sea with us? Because it is freezing out there and it sucks. And the guy just looked at me and goes, quite honestly, not. Can we not do that? And I was like, I think the probability is low, but yes, planes do go down and that stuff does suck.
Man. Okay, so thanks for the swimming clarification, because I genuinely didn't know. What about locations? I know that you guys have, Jordan, you're at Cannon right now. You had mentioned you're at Cannon, and then we talk about Hurlburt Field, the two meccas for AFSOC. But can you guys go anyplace else in terms of being assigned?
Yeah, there's 4 active duty locations, and there's 1 guard, 1 reserve. The other 2 active duty are Kadena Air Base in Japan, and then you have RAF Mildenhall in England. As far as your guard and reserve, you do have a reserve unit, the 919th, out of Duke in Florida. Lands maybe about like 40 minutes away from Herbie, something like that.
Yep.
And then you have the guard in Pennsylvania, which is the 193rd.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned, Lance, that you mentioned Florida and the unpredictability of rain. I think it's pretty predictable in the summer. You're going to get an afternoon shower. It's going to rain. Oh, man. Well,
I have a
I'm
question.
sorry.
Yeah. Well, first, we're talking about like the specifics of the job and all that. I just wanted to know why y'all wanted to be daggers. First of all, I think it sounds like you guys are make fun of the Raven folks. You're like, we're like you, but better, is what I heard. And then why you wanted to step over there, because for everybody that's out there, it's not the easiest decision all the time to go jump into something new, especially after you're already in the Air Force and you can get comfortable wherever you're at. And you already know your job. So why take the risk and why jump over there for, the extra training and the extra paying to do the job?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll start this off and let Jordan kind of sum it up. But, with the Dagre program, we're not any different than any other security forces person. I say the only thing that's really different, the only thing that's really different is your mentality. There's a lot of people in security forces. There's a crew filled with 30,000 plus people. A lot of those people don't actually pick to be security forces. They come in open general, they get stuck with the job. And that leads to some internal problems, which I'm not here to rat on my previous group or anything like that. But you get an assortment of people that have different varying work ethics. The people that go into the Raven program, the people that go into the Dagre program, they just want to do a little bit more. They want to put in the extra 10% in what they do. They just, it's a volunteer program. You don't really get snagged anywhere and someone says, hey, you're going to go be a Dagre. We do see young people, especially at Cannon at Herbert Field, that are have the opportunity to go to the program, and we see potential in them and try to help mold and do some mentorship. And hey, you've got really good PT scores. Let's focus on your basic level of security forces training, and then once you're where you need to be, we try to get you in the program because you seem like a good fit. But the program itself is it's not really any different. I'll say for myself, like I was a washout, special warfare washout guy. So I was a combat controller trainee for like a year and a half, and just kept getting broken. Whatever genetic weakness, how do you want to label it? It didn't work out for me. But I am a non-quitter. You know what I mean? And just because you don't make it in one path in your life doesn't mean that you're like, oh, throw your hands up and quit. I had an opportunity to continue working within the AFSOC community and still do a mission that was important and was protecting our aviators in the AFSOC community. And I was like, hell yeah, sign me up, man. What do I need to do? What are the standards? Let's go do this thing. And it was really rewarding for me. I deployed to Africa twice. One of those is still, I think, is still under classified status, supporting some of the cool guys that we all like to talk about movies and things like that. And deployed to Afghanistan and really got to see what was going on there towards the end tail piece of our mission there. So it's extremely rewarding. I mean, you are going to get the opportunity to work with AFSOC aviators, which in my opinion are the best aviators in the world. These guys fly around under nods. You're going to work with host nation folks. You're going to work with an assortment of different people. And that's what a team is all about. It's about the community of people that you work with. And that's a big thing for the pipeline too. If we don't have as much of a psychological profile to bring people in, but if you're a me guy and not a team guy, then you are not going to be a good fit for the Dagger community.
Jordan, I didn't know if you were going to jump in on that real quick. I got something after you.
Yeah, just to add on to it, it was kind of for me, it's just more something kind of a continuation of growth. I wanted to keep adding on. I was lucky enough, my unit before I had come to Canadian Air Force Base at 27th was somewhat of a selectively manned unit itself. And we got to do a lot of training. And I really, the more I kind of dipped my toe into that type of stuff, the more I found out I really liked it. When I didn't know, I did. And I just wanted to keep continuing that. And I wanted the opportunity to deploy and to get to work with just some really talented guys and girls and see where that would take me. So again, same thing, getting to deploy to Africa was an amazing experience. See a couple different countries, work with an amazing host of people was just a really awesome experience. It was something that the more I put into it, the more I found out that I really enjoyed it. And I wanted to keep working around those people who really kind of would shoot for the stars and really kind of put all their efforts into what they were doing.
Oh, that's valid. And I think that's a good spot to be in is, you hear all the tropes all the time, iron sharpens iron, surround yourself with greatness, that kind of stuff. But like, there's some validity to that is when you surround yourself with people that want to do great things or trying to better themselves, you kind of have no choice but to get better. So, Lance, you brought up something, a really good point that I wanted to touch on and maybe get a little bit more insight in, or at least just run my suck about it a little bit. But you talked about you had originally come into the combat control pipeline, injuries, recycles, and stuff like that. Because of those are a lot of the questions that we get about, like, hey, what happens if you get injured? And obviously, it depends on the severity of the injury, right? Because we can't hold on to you for 8 months in a pipeline in kind of a casual status and just wait for you to heal. But if it's a 2 or 3 week kind of thing, then, and depending on the injury, of course, we can hold on to you for a while. But you said something that struck a chord with me is I'm not a quitter. And I think that's a really good point. It's because none of these career fields really, we're not looking for quitters. That's just the reality of it. But sometimes things happen, whether it's injuries, whether it's medical disqualifications, whether it's, hey, family issues, because like right now I can't focus on this, something happened, maybe a death in the family or something like that. And so now I can't focus on the pipeline. So I need to go into another career field. And whether that's security forces, services, maintenance, CE, whatever that is. But either way, you're not quitting, and you're still given the chance to serve your country and do something that is worthwhile in any fashion within the Air Force and the Army, Navy, Marines, Space Force, all that kind of stuff. But like, you still have the opportunity to serve, even if it's not what you originally came in for. And the best part about it is, for most people, even if you don't get to where you want to initially, you can go do something else and then come back to it. Right. So I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a side note too, the Dagger program, we've had, just the mentality of the people that we bring in, they do want to go do better, bigger things. And, the Dagger program it's like tier 4. I don't know. I always like to say we're cool enough to wear nods, but we're not cool enough to have beards.
That's pretty accurate on the scale there. That's a good gauge. Like, cool enough to have dual tube nods, but not cool enough to have a beard with them. Okay, got it. Yeah, I got you.
Right. But the Dagger program has offered, I know, a lot of people around me an opportunity to see what the SOF community is like. And if that's the kind of community you want to live in, you're going to understand what the deployment tempo is like, doing 4 months out, 8 months back, 4 months out. Also, we have a 9 alpha mission, which To put that simply, it's a 24-hour standby mission to support the anytime, any place, anywhere mission that AFSOC does. So sometimes you just randomly get snagged and you're out the door unexpectedly. But we've had a lot of guys that have gone blue to green. I know 3 personally that are Green Berets now because they I like this and I want to take the next step. I've got a former troop of mine right now that's at San Antonio. I don't want to say his name because I think you guys will pick on him, but he really wants to be a PJ. That's been his goal.
Can you say his whole name, please? Can you just his whole name and his whole rank?
Nice guy.
What part of
the
maybe his social
is like, yeah, right. No, definitely not. All you'll see is pictures of his kids anyway. But it offers you that opportunity to kind of as a stepping stone if you want to go to do bigger and better things within the soft environment. Jordan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've got currently in my section, definitely people who want to do more. So right now we have guys everywhere from wanting to retrain to EOD all the way to PJ, or for one of my buddies, it's going back to the PJ now assessment and selection because he wants to get another shot at that. So there's definitely, you'll find that's kind of a commonality or kind of a norm. You have a lot of people who, once they get into Dagger and they find what they like, some of them want to stay or they want to do more. So going blue-green for an SFS or an 18X contract, or wanting to take a step over into that AFSPEC warfare isn't uncommon. Yeah, we see it quite a bit.
Well, and I think it gets after something that we talk about all the time, right? We talk about like traits. Like we know what the jobs are, right? Like the person that's a combat controller really isn't that much different than a PJ. And those people really aren't that much different than the people that you're attracting to the Dagger program, right? What kind of traits do you look for when you see that senior airman, that hard charging senior airman out there, and you don't know what it is, but you know it when you see it, right? What traits, when you look at that senior airman, are like, you would make a good Dagger? Because we look for things like, and I think they're going to be the same things that we look for. We look for teamwork. We look for grit. We look for that ability to problem solve. We look for that ability for public speaking, to be able to handle yourself in a room where you might be the lowest ranking individual with the most authority. Some of those things. But, Lance, especially for you, when you look out and you see those prospective hard charging defenders that are just killing it, what traits do you see that are common?
Yeah, I'll say one of them is just showing up. I can't tell you how many times when I was at the first, we would hold some sort of assessment for people, that we do something with somebody that looks promising. And, hey, be here at 05 on Wednesday morning for PT, and we're going to do a little bit of training. And they wouldn't even show up, So that's just step one, like to just having the willingness to like, hey, I'll see what this is about, even if it's just curiosity. I don't know if this Dagger thing is cool or not, but I'll show up and see what it's about. And then the next piece is just, having a no quitting attitude is definitely huge. I mean, I feel like that goes without saying. You can beat that horse to death. Having the team mentality. We operate when we deploy from basically 2 to 5 man teams. If you're going out the door when I went to Afghanistan, it was me and one other guy. There's no margin for error with that team. You gotta be on point about what you're doing. You gotta be in perfect communication with your aircraft commanders. In the commander, the unit you're supporting. There's no gaps to fill. So having that team mentality of like, put your ego aside, even if you don't get along necessarily with someone, and put the mission first, and be like, all right, this is what we got to do. I think is really big. And you'll, of course, in any kind of environment when people are in a pipeline for a couple months together, you're going to have personality conflicts, but seeing people will be able to put that aside and work towards the mission is, I think, it's a super important, valuable skill. And I've talked to leadership too about getting us a TAPAS program as part of our AMS hire. I really wish they would do it because I think it would allow us to screen people better, but it has not happened yet. Maybe someday in the future.
Got it. And then Lance, from your optic, because you're kind of at the other end, right? Like you're just kind of starting your journey. Were there things that you focused on? Were there, books that you read? Were there some mental preparation, that you did before you got in? Because we get questions on that all the time too, right? Like maybe I don't know what it means to truly display grit. I don't know what it truly means to be a good team player. Was there anything that you used before you took your journey to the Dagger pipeline?
Jordan, you took that.
Yeah, definitely for me, it was one as far as like personality wise, just be a decent person, be humble. I think those are definitely very good traits, and like they won't steer you wrong. For me personally, I just think that through adversity and tough situations like that, I'm just kind of too dumb to quit sometimes. I just don't want to. I either just, suck it up and stick it out, and then you get what you want, or ending up quitting or taking that decision. I think is going to affect you quite a bit longer, and it's going to be something that you're going to look back on and regret. So I know in our office for a while, Jocko was real huge. Doing a lot of reading on him. Yeah.
Throw a car battery into the ocean to start your day, or you don't have a hair on your butt. Let's go.
Yeah. I think definitely he has some words of wisdom, and that's one that I pulled from. But I should say that was, I guess, like post my Dagger pipeline. But personally, it was just, if you're in a tough situation or you're uncomfortable, it's going to end eventually. You might as well just stick with it for a few weeks or a few months. It doesn't last forever, and what you gain is far better than what you're going to lose if you give up. So I think that's a good way to stick it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, I wish I could stay for longer, but I got a plane flight, so I'm going to turn it over to Peaches. I appreciate you guys coming on. I hope that if anybody has any questions, they hit you up. Make sure to pass your socials at the end. So, man, I really appreciate you guys coming on. I'm gonna get out of the way because I'm probably just screwing this process up anybody. So, train hard.
Later, dude.
I'll see you. Don't.
Trent, was it just me? As soon as he said socials, I'm thinking social security number, not actually like social media.
Yeah, we were already there.
Yeah.
I think Aaron is gone now, so now we can say whatever we want.
Yeah. So, man, you got a lot of good stuff in there. Both of you guys, especially when it comes to trades and Jocko. Like Jocko's great. Like all jokes aside, the information that he's putting out there is fantastic. And Lance, you actually covered something. I actually had to look it up because I was tracking the whole TAPAS thing, and I wanted to tell people what TAPAS was. So I had to look it up because I didn't know what the acronym stood for. But it's Tailored Adaptive Personality Assessment System. So it's essentially a characteristic test, a personality test that are given to 9 career fields within the Air Force that test things on, character, ethics, ethical decision making, that kind of stuff. So there's 9 AFSCs or Air Force specialty codes that cover that, and it's interesting. Like I would think that security forces would be on that list. And even more so putting the daggers on that. And I think, honestly, I mean, that's a pretty easy change. And I'm sure that the security forces career field manager could put something like that in place, but I also don't want to call him or her out on that either.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is just for the career field as a whole is sometimes they just need a one body to stand at the gate. And anything that might limit the people that come in, it's just something they will not enact. If you go to any civilian law enforcement agency, you're probably going to do a polygraph. You're going to have a psych eval, especially now that everybody looking, over the past couple of years, how law enforcement has been perceived. It's even more important than ever to make sure the right personality types are going into law enforcement. But unfortunately, the career files of people that just need to get people in the door, get them the basic training, and get them out the post. But yeah, I think it is important for this career section of the career field with the Dagger program to look forward to just make sure they're picking the right personality types. Stuff like your PT, we can get that better. We've got, especially now with the POTF, like we've got certified strength and conditioning coaches we have access to. Like if you're struggling with the PT, we can make that better. If your shooting sucks, you can get with a guy like Jordan. Jordan's an incredible shot. He's actually, I'm going to give him a little bit of kudos. He's one of the best shots I've seen come through the pipeline. But I know he puts in a lot of work in his free time too. Like as a security forces member, you're just not going to get enough trigger time to truly get to be a good shot. You're going to have to spend some time on your own, going to the range, buying a box of ammo, as expensive as it is now, to become a better shot because it's a perishable skill. So those things we can work on, we can improve. If you're an a-hole, I can't fix that.
Well, there, I don't know, Jordan. You tell me. Are there some ways that we could do corrective measures?
I've definitely, I've met some people and even probably been that person once or twice myself, and was corrected real quickly. I think I think sweating for it when you get put in an uncomfortable situation is definitely a good teaching tool. I think I've had a couple times in my career where it wasn't straight to paperwork; it was straight to, some one-on-one time or a couple good hours of exercise that made you learn real quick and decided, hey, I wasn't going to do that again, or I wasn't going to be that person again. So I think that's definitely a good teaching tool. But there is definitely something to be said that some people just aren't a good fit, and that's the way it is. Some people maybe are more motivated for themselves than they are for the team, and that happens. You definitely want to find people who are very much outward, more about others than they are about themselves. Is definitely a good aspect to look for.
I think you made a good point about the paperwork. I think in our communities, when someone makes a mistake, and people tend to look at this as a negative if we have corrective actions that are not paperwork. The way I view that is, if I'm taking a corrective action that's not paperwork, I'm still investing in that person. I still see their potential. I don't want to give them paperwork. I want to fix the problem so that they can move forward, so the team can move forward and all that. I'll tell you from where I sit, if I start giving you paperwork and you're a student or a young guy on team or whatever, that's the beginning of the not investing in you anymore process. So, we people say words like punishment and all that other stuff. And no, it's an investment in your human capital that you have to get them back on the right track, as opposed to, starting a paperwork trail and start that divesting of them from the team and the environment.
Definitely
throw it out there. We don't do a lot of paperwork.
I definitely don't do a lot of paperwork. I would rather take somebody out and do some extra training, if you will, versus giving paperwork. But that's just me. Lance, you brought up POTIF, and I know that's a SOCOM program and an AFSOC program. I wasn't tracking that you guys had POTIF, so that's interesting. What does your POTIF look like?
Yeah, so it's another acronym, right? The Preservation of the Force and Family. And over the last couple of years, they've slowly been integrating more access of that to the security forces. I can't speak to Canon as much. I'm sure Jordan can kind of comment a little bit on what they have available. But at Herbert Field, we have a licensed counselor there at the squadron, and of course for cops it's super important, and this kind of hits a mark at home, especially because the career field as a whole has the worst suicide rate. It's just a lot of people don't like the career field they're in. They have easy access to firearms, crappy hours, things of that nature. So someone you can go talk to if you're just completely feel like you're fed up, which has been, I've used it coming back from the deployment on my own, just being able to talk to somebody about the stuff I was going through, divorce, et cetera, et cetera. So honestly, having access to that is huge, but we also have access to those strength conditioning coaches. So they're not embedded the same way they are with you guys, where they're there kind of every day to help you with your workouts and kind of tailor them to you. But we have access to go over to them and basically start to integrate for the training that they have available. And now I believe they're using one or two of the strength conditioning coaches, and possibly even one of the nutritionists or dietitians for the actual Dagre pipeline too, to kind of tailor the workouts that are going on during those 9 weeks to be kind of more of a more well thought out program to build people up, versus just kind of the way it used to be. Honestly, it was just like you just did workouts that sucked. Naturally, if you do work, you're going to make some gains, but the Preservation of the Force and Family hires these really smart strength conditioning coaches that are coming from collegiate and professional sports worlds. And if your goal is to make someone a better rucker or make them better at push-ups, they've got the knowledge and know how to make it happen. You just got to show up and be willing to put in the work that for the scaffolding that they kind of put out for you.
And Jordan, what does y'all's look like? Is it very similar?
Yes, it's very similar. So they've just started integrating certified athletic trainers into the squadrons. So the security forces squadron, you'll see a certified athletic trainer that can help you with your goals, what you want to do to essentially work smarter while you're working harder, so that you can kind of stay off injury and avoid that, and make those gains, whether it be in your cardiovascular system or muscular, or however you'd like to do it, as well as mental health professionals. We have the M flag. For the life of me, I can't remember what that stands for, but essentially just a mental health professional that you can go and talk to if something's going on. You need to talk to, whether it be family issues, something like that's going on in your life. You can definitely go talk to them.
I'll say I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, that's not it. I know it stands for like military family liaison counselor, I think is what it is, but it's a social worker. I believe that acronym's correct, but yeah, they're a great asset. And man, everybody that watches the show knows that I've got a special place in my heart for POTUF. We've had Sergeant Major Matt Parrish on from SOCOM. He is the senior enlisted leader for POTUF at the headquarters. So, man, POTUF programs have helped me out so much. So I really enjoy talking about them and building them up. So I think it's awesome to hear that you guys have got POTUF at your units. And that'll kind of go into my next question, because the whole point of POTUF is to take for longevity, right? It's to keep members that are healthy and in a good mental space and a good physical space, as well as take people that are maybe broken and then help build them, get them back up to 100%. But since we're talking about longevity, like how long can somebody stay a Dagger once they transition? Like, is there a certain rank where they have to kind of go back to security forces, or can they, continue on to be the senior enlisted leader of a Dagger unit?
Yeah, so I can take this one if that's cool. So it can vary. You have to understand that with security forces, it's what we have billets for. So if you rank out of your billet, say you're in a staff sergeant or a tech sergeant billet, and you rank out, say you rank the master, there's really nowhere for you to sit anymore. But on the flip side of that, we're looking at anywhere you could spend as little as 3 years. Currently, I've been here about 3 years. I'm getting ready to PCS to a regional training center, so I won't be doing the Dagger thing directly anymore, at least not for the time being. But you could also spend as much as 8 years in this community. We've had plenty of guys who have gone from Cannon that have done 3, 4, 5 years, and then PCS to Kadena or Milk Hall, and then they're signed on to do another 3 to 4 years there. So you could spend a considerable amount of time. If just things align, billets are there. If things line up, you could spend a considerable amount of time and part of your career in this community.
Yeah, and one other thing to add to that too is that special duty identifier that you get once you graduate the Dagger course. It follows you through your whole career as a security force member. So you may, for us, the dreaded thing is getting sent up to the new field. It's a mission that has to be done. It's not exactly a fun mission. But there's a huge movement, a flux of personnel within the career field that, go from good location to spend 2 years in the northern tier defending missile silos. And then, you do that, and then you still got that identifier that you can plug in for as long as the rank lines up to go back to another duty station for, E6 or E7 billet. And continue on with the Dagger mission. We have had people do that in the past. You may have to go back to Herbert Field for a top off of training, just kind of as a refresher, depending on how long it's been. But I think most of the people don't have a problem doing that anyway, because in all honesty, the majority of the school is fun. I mean, you're getting paid to shoot, you're getting paid to drive cars, you're getting paid to get fit. Plus, we have weekends off. You can enjoy the beach outside of Herbert Field and the Destin, Pensacola area. So, there's a reason people try to get into this job besides just doing the mission, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I mean, we've had guys that have popped in and popped out before, so it is doable. I tell the thing I give a recommendation for people, my troops, is that like security forces career field, like I've mentioned, has a lot of people, and unfortunately, you don't get individual treatment. You are just a number. to the career field manager, unfortunately. And if you're not proactive about what you want to do with your career and hitting those buttons on AMS or trying to retrain or doing what you want to do with your career, you're just going to get told to do something and you will not enjoy it. So try to be proactive about what you want to do with your career.
Yeah, and just real quick, Trent, because I know you're going to hop in here, but I know it sounds bad what Lance just said is like, hey, you're just a number, but in the reality of it, the Air Force has, I think right now, 365,000 people. The Security Forces career field, I think, is either the largest or the second to the largest with 28,000 people, maybe 30,000 people. Like, I mean, that's a lot of people. So imagine being the career field manager, as in one person, maybe a couple of people trying to manage that. So being able to, know Lance, Jordan specifically, unless they had interactions with them, at an assignment, they're not going to know. So at that point, you do become a number, as bad as that sounds. But, that's why you have senior enlisted leaders at each of the squadrons to help, put that name to the face, or that face to the name, and that kind of stuff, and to make it more empathetical and personal.
Sounds like we need to get the Security Forces CFM on the podcast.
Yeah.
and grill them and be like, so Jordan and Lance, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I'm
They're saying
not well liked.
No, but Lance, you actually stop answering my questions before I ask them, because you're killing me. So I'm just going to ask Jordan. We've been talking about specifics and all the things you can do to a certain extent, but here towards the end of the podcast, I want you to, like, besides the moving on to doing other things, like, what's the selling point? Tell me about the cool trips, the gear. Everyone wants to know suppressors, nods. We talked about it a little bit, but Jordan, what's the selling point for Dagre? What is the coolest part about it, and what have you gotten out of it so far?
I think it's very unlike regular security forces. I'd say it's very unconventional to your normal security forces unit or duty station. Definitely getting to the trainings I've gotten to do, go to be trained by civilians over on the East Coast, generally prior Green Berets, Marines, things like that. Get a lot of good pre-deployment training from them. Something that I think was pretty cool, like my rifle that I was issued for my first deployment was the Mark 18 suppressed, and I'm a gun guy, so I thought that was super cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, different bits of gear. I want to kind of denote that gear shouldn't be the primary motivator, but if you are kind of that gear guy, you do have more of the funding here, where you're going to get outfitted a little bit better and be given those tools to get the job done. That's honestly why I see these things as they're tools to help you better perform your job or your duties. So those are definitely things that you'll have access to now. Ops tempo is a little bit higher, so if that's something you like, going to places that are not really the norm for security forces, getting to go to different parts of Africa or the Middle East that maybe other security forces units aren't going to. And then just getting to work with different agencies and entities. I've gotten to work with a couple different ST units, supported first SFG a couple times in exercises. And the people you get to meet and interact with, I think, is definitely, it's very different, and it's very refreshing. It's a very, very cool experience.
Yeah, agreed. It's definitely a better world when it comes to the gear piece. It's not perfect. We're still trying to kind of figure out how the sustainability piece for all that, because we kind of don't get lumped in the same pot of money as some of the other career fields that are within AFSOC do, but we do have access to way better stuff than we do as regular security forces. And for me, yes, just to harp on what Jordan said, that opportunity to work with ST guys, SF guys, the amount of training that I've gotten. I mean, Tier 1 group, which is outside of Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, it's one of the places we've done pre-deployment training. And like you'll have a cadre of guys who instructed you together. They've got like 60 years worth of SOC experience. I mean, you can't pay for that. I mean, I guess you can pay for that kind of thing because AFSOC does it, but I mean, in the civilian world, you just don't. It's very hard to get access to that kind of level of experience and training. I mean, we shoot a lot. If you like shooting, I mean, every other week you're going to be on the range shooting. And then there's opportunities to go do stuff too. Like the thing is, if you're a good articulator and you can articulate this kind of training that you think is valuable to the mission, you can route for it and go get it done. We've had one-offs for different schools and things of that nature that are, we think, as long as you can articulate how it affects the mission and providing, security, anti-terrorism for AFSOC, you're probably gonna get greenlit assuming the money is there. And then the last thing is just getting to travel too. I mean, it's a flyaway security mission. I mean, I've been all over Western and Eastern Africa. Of course, like when you go in and out of places, you end up in Europe. Been to the Philippines, of course, been to Afghanistan. You get to travel and see parts of the world that you really wouldn't as a regular defender.
Man, well, I know I really appreciate it, guys. I know Peaches does. This has been, if nothing else, very educational for the two of us. And I'm sure all the folks out there that are looking to get into the Air Force, they want to hear about all the opportunities and all the things that are available, right? And I think one of the things that we come to all the time is if you're proactive and if you're a worker and you don't quit, there are, beyond the traditional, things that we talk about on this podcast, the AFSPEC war stuff specifically, there are tons of opportunities out there in the Air Force and the military, and all you got to do is grind and go find what you want and find your place. So appreciate it. And for everybody else out there, we're going to wrap this up unless Peaches does anything else. He's giving me the look like wrap it up, Trent, ready to go, rock on. Make sure you go out there, subscribe, leave the comments, 5-star reviews, all that other kind of stuff, and check out all the people that support us. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you guys coming on and telling us a little bit about Dagre, and can't wait to talk about it some more and maybe delve into some more other things. I think we got some other stuff coming up like SEER and a few other things. So we're kind of branching out, trying to get you all the best information out there. But that's it for today. And that's One's Ready Out. We'll catch y'all later.
Thanks.